if you look at caste system, I went through Mahabharata because for me, I was like, how did it all start? Where did it come from? Because I need to find the root of a practice to figure out how to solve it. So I went to the root, like where did it come from? And then I read Bhagavad Gita where Krishna talked about it. But the thing is, in Bhagavad Gita, he didn't say it is by birth. He didn't say one caste is better than other caste. He never said those things. All he said is like there are 4 kinds of people in this world. There are people that seek land. They want to be rulers. Not for tilling it, they want to rule the land. And those people are called Kshatriya. Kshetra means land. They want land. They're called Kshatriyas. They are the kings and noblemen, I guess. And then you got Brahmins. Brahmins or Brahmins are people. Brahma means knowledge. People that seek knowledge are Brahmins. And then you got Vaishya. People that want to do business. So, for example, I make something, or it could be farmers, it could be any skilled worker, anything. I got something, I'll trade it with you, and you trade with me. Anyone that does any trade skills, any kind of trading, you're a Vaishya. And then the 4th one are called Sudras, and they are the people, and here is the thing. They are the people that are still trying to figure out who they are, because this figuring out is not just one lifespan, it's multiple lifespans. So Sudras are the people that are still trying to figure out who they are, but in the meantime, they're helping other people achieve their goals. And they're called Sudras. And he said, who you are is based on your guna and gana. Guna means your inner traits. Gana means environmental traits. Guna or gana. Those are the things that affect you. And based on what you do, you are one of them. He didn't say this is based by birth. He didn't say one is better than the other. The biggest misconceptions they have in West about India, about caste system is, one, for some reason you think colorism and casteism are same. They're not. You could be a lower caste person. Well, actually, technically, there is no lower caste because they're all equal caste based on the book. But I'm talking about socially right now, by the current situation. You could be a lower caste person but a light-skinned person, or you could be an upper caste person and a dark-skinned person. So the colorism, though, because of the colonization, people look down on darker people. They think they respect people that have money or power. And they assume when they see a darker person, they assume that they are poor and they don't have money. So that is still there, and that is a separate thing. And coming to caste, current India, the caste system, people think Brahmins are in the power. But if you look at every state, the people that are ruling each state, for example, I'll take my state, Andhra Pradesh, it's ruled by Reddis or Kammas. These are the 2 powerful castes. If people get pissed off at Reddy party, they'll go to the Kamma party. If they get pissed off with Kamma party, they go to Reddy party. And these 2 castes back then would be Vaishyas because they're farmers. Actually, they're not even farmers. They would be, Reddis were tax collectors. Kammas were mostly in the armed forces, and so are Reddis. So they were tax collectors. Basically, they're working for the king, collecting the money. And when British came with one goal only. If you think about when East India Company established its rule in India, it was 1772 or 3. And when did America get its freedom? 5, I think. 1776, okay. So you see that it's like 4 or 5 years difference, right? Basically, Britain was losing control of America, which means they're going to lose the land that was going to give them the cash crops like tobacco and cotton. At the time, the most important things for them. And America has vast land, so they were going to lose control of that. So they had to find another place where they could reciprocate the production and to compete. It's going back to capitalism of that day. So East India Company started taking over. They had to replace the production they're losing in America. So what they did was they started pushing people to move away from, like before, the way India is actually, when British came, it's, yeah, even for the longest time 80% agrarian. Everybody would have some land, like whatever, like 4 or 5 acres land, and then they would have like a set of cows, and that's a family. Like, you have your family, you have a cow family. So the cows you would use, you could build a cart, a bullock cart, and travel around, and you use those ox to like till your land. So it's like a symbiotic relationship between. That's why cows are so important for us, because it's agrarian society and cows play a big role in agriculture. But they're producing food grains, which is not British want. So they are pushing these people to grow cash crops. But the thing is, they also needed to consolidate. So what did they do? They started charging a tax on farmers for growing food grains, like 80%. And when you have to pay 80% tax, and also the other thing was, like, British people, as soon as you're done, you're ready to work, there are not that many jobs in England, but there are a lot of jobs in India. So they would ship off, a lot of people would sign up to serve in the East India Company army. So they would come here, and here it's kind of like, back home, all the girls are like, oh, he went to India and he served in the army, and they would like get all the girls. And over here, all they were doing is literally drinking tea and playing cricket. There's not much to do. And them being stationed in India was being charged on India, basically the farmers, because it's agrarian society. So the farmers were paying 80% taxes. And so what do? They start leaving their land, and they were like, I don't want to farm anymore because I'm done with it. And that's a problem, because they need these farmers to be working on the land. So at the time, one of the things, Warren Hastings is the guy, what he did was he made a law telling people he made a Hindu law, insisting that you cannot switch your caste. And he based it on a very obscure book called Manusmriti. Manu means human. Smriti means philosophy or idea. And there are a lot of Manusmritis. It's like, every person, every time someone writes his idea or thought, that's his Manusmriti. So he found one where the guy was insisting that your caste is based on your birth and you cannot switch. So based on that, he made a law for Hindus telling them they cannot switch their caste. And that served a purpose. That made sure people that are in a profession, now legally you are being forced to stay in that profession despite it being counterproductive for you. But these farmers were like ditching their land. So the people that were basically earlier, the Reddys and Kammas, they were in charge. They were the king's men when the kings were there. But now the kings are gone and British came. They were made in charge and they were given all that land. So now these guys became, so when India got its independence, Reddys, even with all the, like people give it to their kids and they have like 4 kids, now it's like split up. Even with all the splits, and a lot of those families, they used to live together, and they would build a big house and everybody lived together, because then they could keep all the land within the family. But even for them, they weren't really making money because they're still paying the 80% tax. But they're still better off than the other people. So when British left India, the castes that are powerful are not the Brahmins and Kshatriyas that you would think. The upper caste at the time, based on the narrative missionaries gave to Western world, it should be Brahmins and Kshatriyas that is ruling India. But no, like now India is being ruled by these castes. The Reddy and Kama, they're not even a caste. Basically, when British came, India had 4 castes. When British left, India has some like 16,000 castes. Because every profession is subdivided into a caste, divide and rule. And among those castes, the powerful ones are, for example, in Andhra, they're called Reddys. The tax collectors were called Reddys. It's a term called Rendi, the guy that collects tax, that became Reddy. And then Kama, Kapu, they're like people that were within the soldiers. So they were like, most of the jobs they would do is protection. Like, Kapu means protector, someone who would like stand guard. Yeah, Kapu means guard. So, but because they had the physical strength, and British needed them to, they were basically the king's men, they were able to accumulate all the land. So when British left India, the leaders right now that are ruling India, even though they keep talking shit about Brahmins and Kshatriyas, they're not the ones in power. Most of the states are ruled by these subcastes. These castes don't exist in any Hindu books. So when people blame Hindus for casteism, you got to think about it. This is not the caste system that Hinduism talked about, and the one where Hinduism talked about, Krishna talked about, is not even a caste system. He's talking about 4 different kinds of people, and he said it's based on their guna and gana, their internal traits and external circumstances, and he never said one is better than the other. So there, everybody asks me about caste. Here it is.